move the draft along, and I feel like you're going to hate me for this pick because it is a little bit homerish. Not the guy you're probably thinking, but with my first pick, and like I said, with like pure volume, the talent's there. I'm going with Oklahoma receiver Marvin Mims.
I was worried. I was worried we were going to take him. He was out of the Oklahoma offense. He was my pick.
Yeah. And this is like no discredit to Dillon Gabriel. I think that he's a fine quarterback. And obviously, like if he has the year, I think a lot of OU fans expect him to, then he would definitely be up for this award. But I think that the way that Marvin Mims plays in terms of just, kind of you can just throw it over the top. He's going to burn you for a 50-yard touchdown. It did not happen as regular as I think a lot of OU fans would have liked over the past few years. And he still put up really big numbers. And I think that's important to note because I get burned a lot on Twitter for saying like OU's not using Marvin Mims enough. And they're like, he's the team's leading receiver. And I'm like, no, I know they're still not using him enough, which is it goes down to, obviously I know there's a lot of just kind of like situational type football stuff that factors into that kind of thing. And Marvin Mims is really good. He's at his best when Oklahoma is like backed up 60 yards from the goal line, as opposed to being a guy that you can, throw a goal line fade to, which why would you throw a goal line fade? But Oklahoma threw a lot of goal line fades. Beside the point.
A lot of questionable decisions last year in general, I think, with Oklahoma football.
I'm not going to get into them. But last season finishes with 705 yards, receiving 5 touchdowns, a little bit of a, I guess, I don't want to say decline, but having 9 touchdowns the year before, less receiving yards, but he's really stepped in, I think, stepped up as a leader this offseason. I mean, it seems like he's going to be a captain type guy. Super smart dude. I think is going to, as much as we kind of talk about like the stuff through the NIL lens of like guys with big personalities are going to do well. I just think that Marvin Mims, just his entire personality, if OU makes him kind of the face, which it's kind of becoming him and Dillon Gabriel, I think that people will take notice and I think would add to his Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year hopes. But I think he can be the best player in the league, just Jeff Levy's system. I mean, I know you're familiar with what Jeff Levy, not necessarily what he runs, but just like the mentors he's had. It's going to be, I don't feel like enough is the whole conversation about Brent Venables being unproven is one thing. And, I think Brent Venables is going to be fine as a head coach. I don't know if he's going to be Bob Stoops or if, he's going to be anywhere close to that, but I think he's going to be really good for the program. But I think Jeff Levy, he's been under a lot of good guys, Lane Kiffin, Josh Heupel, and now he gets his shot to, kind of run the show and won't have much oversight from his head coach. And if he wants to throw 80-yard bombs to Marvin Mims every other play, I think there's a lot of Big 12 defenses that will not be able to cover that. So it'll be interesting to see how Marvin Mims does. And would you not agree, a pretty loaded receiver group for the Big 12 this coming season?
Yeah, it's an interesting group. I think last year was a little bit of a step back maybe, but you head into this year. I mean, the funny thing about the Big 12 the past couple of years is that there's been this ebb and flow, right? There was this moment where everybody was running these dynamic sort of air raid based offenses. And then you kind of had this pull back to where last year was like a hardcore running back league in a lot of different ways. I think this year I like Quentin Johnston. I like Xavier Hutchinson from Iowa State. Marvin Mims has a chance to be one of the best in the league for sure. Like I think this is a real bounce back year for the receiver group for sure. I will mention it's weird you didn't mention Jeff Levy's original mentor, but I guess Josh Heupel and Lane Kiffin are probably the only ones that matter.
The Eyes on Oklahoma style guide calls for not mentioning that person.
I like it. I respect it. I think that's absolutely the right decision. No, I think you talk about the way that Marvin Mims was used. I mean, because he's not a huge receiver, 5'11", 177 pounds, but like that's the type of receiver that's taking over college football these days. Like that slot receiver type, somebody who's a great route runner, who gets open in the field, creates mismatches on defense, pulls safeties down, all that sort of stuff. I think that you're right. Jeff Levy's offense has an opportunity to, I think, just feed him in a way that he should have been fed last year. And a lot of that has to do with the weirdness at quarterback, right? I mean, with Spencer Rattler having his struggles, then Caleb Williams only kind of having a limited, I think, grasp of the offense at the beginning. So I think that they're going to have a much more cogent strategy of how to get him the ball, just because I think that it'll be a little bit more of a unified type of mindset per se. And yeah, I mean, he is somebody who, I mean, talent-wise, there's no question, right? And so I think that you look also at what Ole Miss did the past couple of years. I mean, they really fed Elijah Moore back 2 years ago. They really fed Dontario Drummond last year. So I think that Jeff Lebby likes to find a guy who he can rely on, and certainly I think that that Marvin Mims can be that guy. And we I know that you posted about, and I know that CBS also has up. You know, he's somebody who's a borderline first-round pick right now, and if he has a really strong year, the kind of year that honestly everybody should expect him to have, he absolutely has a shot of winning this award. And I agree too. I think that Marvin Mims is the guy who will probably emerge as the sort of face of the passing offense more than Dylan Gabriel, because I think that Marvin Mims is that kind of talent.
It's going to be, I mean, unless like Dylan Gabriel becomes like a true, and I know he's got that mobility, but I wonder post injury, like if he becomes more hesitant with taking those running lanes. And obviously, I mean, like I feel like if you were to ask him, he was like, no, like I'm out there to compete, nothing changes. But, you know, I'll be interested to see like how much is he going to lean on, you know, other guys to kind of make plays and maybe not sacrifice his body so much, because this is a big year for him. I know he's got 2 years of eligibility, but I think that the idea is that this is a 1-year kind of rental thing for Oklahoma before, you know, whoever is I always want to say like the true freshman that they just brought in, and they've got another 4-star guy coming in after that. But just in the portal era, you never know. Like, I mean, Quinn Ewers could be at Oklahoma a year from now. Probably not Quinn Ewers, but
he won't have the 1-year transfer left. Is the one thing that you say about Quinn Ewers? But yeah, I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. You know, I like Nick Evers, the kid that they brought in this year. Jackson Arnold, of course, is 2023, and he's like a top 50 national type recruit who only keeps going up. And so you never know, but I think that Dylan Gabriel has a chance to have a breakout year. And I think if he has a hit this year, like you got to get out. You've been injured. You've been, you've obviously dealt with that side of things. If you feel like you're going to be drafted in the 3rd or 4th round next year, I think that you take that opportunity.